Hello there, ladies and gentlemen. I am the Chall, and today Chall Chats, Kidderminster Harriers 0, Solihull Moors 1. I think it's a case of protecting a lead well in the second half, dealing with some pressure, and definitely seeing the game out and keeping that unbeaten run going. Some big history made in this fixture this evening, which we're going to talk about in this video. So before we get started, make sure you do like, comment, subscribe, click the notification bell so you never miss another YouTube video. Of course, go and check out the Wolves-Liverpool review from earlier today. Make sure you stay tuned for tomorrow's double header from reviews as Doncaster Rovers beat Forest Green Rovers by 2-1 earlier this afternoon. And of course the MLS as St. Louis City take on Houston Dynamo over in Houston, Texas. So stay tuned for both those reviews coming up tomorrow here on Chall Chats. We'll also reveal our schedule for next week on the beginning of the week as well. So stay tuned for that because, of course, the European competitions are starting up. We've got other competitions coming up. We've got a home game for Rovers coming up. So stay tuned for plenty more content over the next few weeks. Obviously, also stay tuned for the theme park content. Big trip to Alton Town on the 26th of September. So stay tuned for content and loads of videos across all social media platforms, live on the day and post-trip. From Alton Towers Resort on the channel and across all the social media platforms. And of course, plenty more theme park news updates to come over the next few weeks from Busch Gardens, Williamsburg, Six Flags, and of course, some other stuff as well. And for now, guys, let's get into this review then. Kidderminster Harriers 0, Solihull Moors 1. So let's take you back to before the game started. Kidderminster Harriers were heading into this one in the top of the bottom four. They hadn't won since match day 2 against York City. I believe that was a 1-0 win, 1-2. Now, Kidderminster, like I said, haven't won since match day 2, and we're looking for that win. Now, one big omen that I wanted to stretch here from the Kidderminster Harriers' point of view is that they were unbeaten at home since the 18th of February, and that was against Banbury United the last time they lost at home before, obviously, this game. And you never guess what? The current manager of Solihull Moors was the manager of Banbury United at the time. Who knew that twist of fate was coming in the script? So Kidderminster Harriers unbeaten at home since the 18th of February 2023. You know, you'd think the omens would be good at home. Now, Solihull Moors are the only unbeaten side in the National League this season. It's, I think, something like 4 wins and 4 draws, something like that. They are in, of course, the top 3. Of course, they'll have moved up to second on goal difference with the win today. So Solihull Moors, I mean, if people haven't considered them promotion contenders already, they are definitely promotion contenders now. So let's go through the lineups going into today's game. So starting off, of course, with the home side, Kidderminster Harriers, the home side hosting Solihull Moors at Ibrox Stadium. Of course, this is a West Midland derby as well, so nice to see a new derby being created. Kidderminster Harriers, starting, of course, with Christian Dibble in goal as per usual. We've got Alex Penny, Caleb Richards, Nathaniel Knight-Percival, Reece McNally, Joe Leasley, Amari Morgan-Smith, Jack Lambert, Christian Oxlade-Chamberlain, Jerry McDonough comes in as Ashley Hemmings drops to the bench, and Barry Maguire starts as well. Now, another new face to the bench is Christian Pearce, who returned from international duty. One major change then for Solihull Moors, and that is that Mark Beck starts in the attack as the star man Josh Kelly has dropped to the bench. So in 4, we've got Simkin in goal. We'll talk about him in the second half. Clark, Osborne, Morrison, Maycock, Mark Beck obviously starting in this game, Matty Warburton, Gus Mafuta, Richard Stearman, is that a name people remember? Jay Ben, and of course Cade Craig in there as well. So let's go into then the first half, and I've got to say about the first half, it was an interesting story. It sort of began with the first few minutes, Kidderminster Harriers applying the pressure. They had that quickness about him, they had that energy about him. I think Christian Oxlade-Chamberlain especially had that real energy about him. It was definitely whizzing about all over the place like the whiz, just whiz, whiz, whiz all over the place. You know, we're off to see the whiz. And, you know, for me, Christian Oxlade-Chamberlain had a great game overall. I think he was about the place. He was moving himself about quite a lot. He had some good pace and directness about him. He was getting involved a lot. But they had that first 5 minutes of pressure, and then gradually, as the half wore on, Solihull Moors drag the pace back down to their level that they wanted it to be. It's like when you're in a room that's too cold and you want it to be hotter, you dial up the meter. Solihull Moors just kind of slowed the pace of the game down to the pace they wanted to play at and the rhythm they wanted to play at, and gradually, minute by minute, after that first few minutes of pressure from Kidderminster Harriers, you saw Solihull Moors getting into the rhythm of things, and you saw them becoming more of their half, and they definitely deserved the lead going into the end of the first half. The goal itself, textbook. It was a whizzing free kick from outside the penalty area. Mark Beck heads it on, slightly unmarked from my perspective. Now, Warburton, was he slightly onside? Was he slightly off? Worth another look. From my first glance, it seemed like it was fine. From second glance, maybe not. I think different refs could have given anything on a different day. But it was still, I can't take away the fact that, Mark Beck wasn't marked tightly enough by Kidderminster on that particular piece of play. It's textbook, it's smart play from Solihull, but something that Kidderminster should be dealing with better, in my opinion. And Warburton gets on the second header, and it's into the back of the net, 1-0 Solihull. And you're thinking, well, what's going to happen next? Second half, Harriers were applying pressure. It was, for Solihull, it was a case of, okay, we're going to have to probably sit a bit deeper here and just see what Harriers can bring at us. And Harriers brought a lot of pressure and a lot of chances into that mix. Oxlade-Chamberlain, like I said, had a great game. I think Lambert was getting involved a lot. I lost the ball a couple of times, but was still getting involved. I thought Brown, when he came on, had a good game. For me, that blazing shot from Hemmings outside the area towards the end of the second half, sort of in the second period of the second half, that long-range strike that was just wide. There was another strike that forced a really good save from Simkin. I mean, it was just fantastic overall. But Solihull, give them credit defensively. They were just on point all the time. They were just on it. And, if I was to pick a man of the match for both teams, you're probably talking Ashley Hemmings or Christian Oxlade-Chamberlain for Kidderminster. For Solihull, you probably have to look at Warburton as a contender for the goal. You're looking at Simkin for the few saves that he brought into the mix as well. But in the end, Kidderminster suffered that first loss at home in months since the 18th of February, 12th of February, whatever it was, February 2023 anyway. And of course, the only unbeaten side in the division is still Solihull Moors. And like TNT Sports said, I would consider them promotion contenders, even at this early stage. Chesterfield are going to be up there this season. Barnet are going to be up there this season. I mean, I thought Oldham were going to be up there this season, but they're 22nd and looking an absolute mess. But it's only 8 games in. There is still time. And, I think Solihull Moors definitely going to be amongst the promotion contenders. Gateshead's in there. Woking's in there. It's still so early to tell. It's still too early to tell who's going to be up there at the end. But you could definitely see some teams being around that margin, and I think Solihull Moors is one of them. But there we go, guys. Thank you very, very much for watching this review today. Make sure you stay tuned, of course, for tomorrow's reviews from Forest Green, Warren Doncaster Rovers 2, and the game between Houston Dynamo and St. Louis City. I am the CHALL. Ta-ra for now. Big up the National League.